Get ready for a chilling journey through some of the most horrific amusement park tragedies ever witnessed. From fatal falls to catastrophic malfunctions, these 5 disturbing deaths on amusement park rides will make you think twice before strapping in. Join us and let's discover the dark side of adrenaline-filled entertainment together. On August 7, 2016, Michelle and Scott Schwab of Kansas took their 4 sons to Schlitterbahn Water Park in Kansas City. It was Elected Officials Day, the one day of the year when the park offered free entry to elected officials and their families. As it happened, Scott Schwab was a Kansas state representative. The kids were more than thrilled at the prospect of spending a day of fun on the water slides. Out of all of them, Caleb, the couple's 10-year-old son, was perhaps the most excited. But what was supposed to be a day of joy turned into the worst possible scenario for any family. At that point, Schlitterbahn was a wonder, mainly because of its main attraction, a water slide called Verrückt, which means insane in German. The water slide had an impressive height of 168 feet and 7 inches, which at least at that point made it the tallest water slide in the entire world. Verrückt was the creation of Jeff Henry, the co-owner of the water park, who had designed the water slide himself. With such a promise of fun, it was only natural that 10-year-old Caleb Schwab was eager to ride Verrückt. Verrückt, as tall and towering as it was, had no age restriction, despite the fact that a consultant had previously recommended an age limit of 16. As such, Caleb and his older brother, 12-year-old Nathan, were able to experience the ride. Caleb and Nathan let their parents know they wanted to go on Verrückt soon after the family arrived at the park. Scott, their father, asked the 2 boys to stick together for the day. Caleb agreed, then eagerly headed off with his brother. These would be the very last words father and son exchanged. The brothers ascended the 264 steps to the top of Verrückt. Nathan was the first one to get into one of the water slide rafts and experience the ride, with Caleb impatiently waiting for his turn at the top of the water slide. Then it was Caleb's turn. Nathan waited for his brother at the bottom of the slide. The ride featured 2 drops, the first being a 17-story plunge. Riders occupied 3-person rafts, each weighing 100 pounds, and were required to have a combined weight of no more than 550 pounds to prevent the rafts from lifting off the slide. When it was Caleb's turn to go down the slide, the boy was seated at the front of Raft B with 2 women behind him. Caleb weighed only 73 pounds, far less than the 2 women, an important factor in the tragedy that was just about to play out. It all happened so fast. As the raft sped down the chute and over the first hill, it went airborne on the second hill. Caleb was thrown against the netting designed to prevent riders from being thrown from the ride, striking a metal pole. The young boy was decapitated instantly. Witnesses below watched in horror as Caleb's body descended the chute, leaving a bloody trail on the slide. To make matters worse, Nathan, Caleb's older brother by 2 years, saw the entire tragedy unfold. He screamed in terror, saying his brother flew from the slide. Michelle Schwab, the boy's mother, desperately tried to reach Caleb, but she was stopped by other witnesses who knew the sight would be too devastating for any mother. The boy's father, Scott, repeatedly asked if his son was dead. Scott was in shock. When he heard that Caleb was indeed dead, he was overwhelmed with grief. As emergency services attended to the other women on the raft, the Schwab family was left to grapple with their immense grief. Returning home in a daze, questions arose about how and why Caleb had died. An investigation into the incident provided some answers to the devastated family. First off, there was the matter of Caleb and his weight. His being seated at the front of Raft B created an uneven weight distribution. To top things off, other information seemed to point to Raft B having a tendency to go abnormally fast and airborne, far more often than other rafts. Even more, safety concerns had plagued Verrückt from the start. Verrückt was designed by people with no background in mechanical engineering. As such, it was created with the use of trial-and-error methods and not engineering practices. During testing, it became evident that the ride had severe issues, with rafts frequently going airborne and the ride proving dangerously fast. Videos of sandbags flying off rafts during testing went viral before the ride opened, prompting co-creator Jeff Henry to claim the ride was safe, dangerous. Despite warnings from an engineering firm about the ride's hazards, it opened to the public with riders going airborne and hitting the netting. Caleb's tragic passing prompted other park visitors to come forward with their own stories of the ride. As it turned out, some 13 riders suffered injuries such as concussions and slipped herniated discs. In early 2017, the Schwab family settled with Schlitterbahn and other parties for approximately $20 million. Verrückt was dismantled, and the Kansas City Park closed on September 3, 2018. In March 2018, Jeff Henry, along with 2 other individuals, were indicted on charges including second-degree murder and involuntary manslaughter, but the charges were dropped the following year due to alleged illegal evidence. It was July 26, 2017, when Tyler Jarrell and his girlfriend Keziah Lewis arrived at the Ohio State Fair for an exciting day of fun. After spending an extremely taxing morning at her grandfather's funeral, Keziah found the lively and vibrant fair to be the ideal place to unwind. As they wandered through the colorful attractions and bustling crowds, neither of them could have predicted the terrible tragedy that the Fireball ride would bring them. Tyler, an 18-year-old Columbus, Ohio, fresh high school graduate, had recently signed up for the Marines. His proud moment of enlisting was captured in a photo he posted on Facebook. The picture shows him carrying a plaque while wearing his Marine Corps uniform. Tyler and Keziah made the decision to end their visit that day by riding the Fireball, an exhilarating attraction that swung riders 40 feet into the air while spinning them at high speeds. Little did they know this ride would malfunction disastrously, leading to a catastrophic outcome. At first, everything seemed normal as the Fireball began its rotation. However, a sudden, strong shaking disrupted the ride and alarmed the passengers. And then it happened. A whole section of the roller coaster snapped, flinging passengers into the air. Tyler was thrown with such force that he never stood a chance. Keziah, Tyler's girlfriend, was severely injured in the horrifying accident, suffering severe damage to her pelvis, ankles, and ribs. The chaos that followed was beyond description. As emergency responders raced to the site, onlookers watched in shock. But it was too late for Tyler Jarrell, who had died upon impact. The investigation that followed showed that the Fireball had been inspected and deemed safe by the Ohio Department of Agriculture a few hours prior to the tragedy. Yet something had gone seriously wrong. Authorities quickly shut down all rides at the fair, and KMG International BV, the manufacturer of the Fireball, instructed operators worldwide to cease operations of similar rides. The investigation revealed structural flaws that had gone undetected, raising questions about the frequency and thoroughness of ride inspections. The emotional toll on Tyler's family and friends was immense. Keziah, Tyler's girlfriend, was devastated to hear about his passing when she woke up in the hospital after undergoing multiple surgeries. The town of Columbus, where Tyler was highly regarded and well-loved, mourned the loss of a bright young man whose destiny was snatched away so suddenly. Following the incident, Amber Duffield, Tyler's mother, and other supporters pushed for stricter safety laws. This resulted in the Tyler's Law initiative, which sought to enhance Ohio's safety standards for amusement rides. The purpose of the bill was to make sure that operators are held to higher accountability standards and that rides go through more thorough inspections. As the fair reopened, albeit with a somber atmosphere, and rides temporarily closed, the tragedy left an indelible mark on all who attended. For Keziah, who would never regain full mobility, the journey of recovery was both physical and emotional. Yet she found strength in advocating for safety improvements, hoping to prevent future tragedies. On the evening of July 19, 2013, Rosa Ayala-Gaona Esparza and her family were visiting Six Flags Over Texas and enjoying the park's rides. It was getting late, but before leaving, Rosa and her family decided to try one last ride. Little did they know, this would be Rosa Esparza's last ride ever. At 52 years old, Rosa Esparza was on her first visit to Six Flags. She had an adventurous spirit and was always eager to explore new places and experiences. That day, Rosa was visiting the park with her daughter and her son-in-law. Known for its thrilling attractions, the park in Arlington, Texas, was a beloved destination for both locals and tourists. The new Texas Giant, a hybrid roller coaster combining steel and wood, was Rosa's chosen adventure that day. Opened in 2011, it replaced the original all-wood Texas Giant, which was closed due to safety concerns and complaints about its rough ride. The revamped coaster stood 153 feet tall with a 147-foot drop and operated with 3 trains. It was about 6:40 p.m. that day when Rosa boarded the ride. Rosa, in car 3, appeared nervous about her safety restraint, according to fellow passenger Carmen Brown. Rosa expressed concern that her restraint wasn't secure, but a park employee assured her, "As long as you heard it click, you're fine." However, some witnesses claimed they hadn't heard the click. Despite her anxiety, the ride commenced. Minutes later, Rosa's daughter realized the screams she was hearing weren't filled with joy. No, those were screams of terror. Rosa's daughter turned to see how her mother was faring, but she was met with a terrifying sight. Rosa was nearly upside down in her seat, her head near the floor and feet in the air. 2 passengers behind Rosa tried to help the woman but couldn't reach her. As the ride ascended its 3rd hill, Rosa was violently ejected from her seat. It all felt like pure horror to Rosa's family, who had to helplessly wait for the ride to end, not knowing whether Rosa was dead or alive. When they finally returned to the station, they begged the staff to let them out to help Rosa. Paramedics arrived promptly at 6:45 p.m., but Rosa was pronounced dead at the scene. Her body, partially severed, was found wrapped around a support beam on the roof of the honky-tonk tunnel, with blood and tissue scattered over a 75-foot area. Firefighters took an hour to remove her remains due to the severity of the impact. The ride was closed that day, with the Arlington Police Department launching an investigation immediately. They interviewed both witnesses and employees. As a result, police uncovered some chilling facts. It was revealed that an employee working the ride that day had noticed Rosa's restraint was a little high or not as tight as it should be. Another employee thought the restraint wasn't all the way down on her thigh. Despite these concerns, park representatives claimed there were no mechanical issues and that the safety system indicated the restraint was locked. However, it was revealed that the safety system wasn't completely reliable, since it had malfunctioned earlier that week. Another individual came forward with new information. According to this unnamed woman, her daughter had gone on the ride a week before Rosa's horrifying accident and had experienced a similar issue with her restraint in car 3, the very same car Rosa was in at the time of her accident. Despite these reports, the police concluded there were no signs of criminal misconduct, ruling Rosa's death an accident. In the meantime, Rosa's family filed a lawsuit against Six Flags, seeking at least $1 million in damages. Despite the lawsuit, the park announced the new Texas Giants reopening less than 2 months later, with updated safety measures including redesigned restraints and seat belts. In November 2014, the family settled their lawsuit with Six Flags, with the settlement including a payment but no admission of fault. It was March 24, 2022, and Tyre Sampson was visiting Icon Park in Orlando, Florida, during his spring break. At 14 years old, Tyre was a football player. His trip to Florida was supposed to be a joyful escape with family friends, but it ended in tragedy. Tyre wasn't your usual 14-year-old. He was the kind of young man who stood out. At 6 feet and 5 inches and 383 pounds, Tyre was also known for his friendly personality and gentle nature, which had earned him the nickname Gentle Giant. Tyre was a promising football player and an intelligent student with a bright future. On March 24, 2022, Tyre was visiting Icon Park, a popular entertainment complex which boasts over 50 attractions. That day started out with Tyre and his friends going on various rides. However, Tyre's size led to him being turned away from 2 due to weight restrictions. At some point, Tyre decided to ride the Orlando Freefall, a towering drop ride that had opened only 3 months prior. At that point, the Orlando Freefall was the world's tallest freestanding drop tower, rising 430 feet and plummeting 400 feet at 75 miles per hour. But Tyre didn't feel that excited about this particular ride. He felt something was amiss. He felt uneasy about the harness that seemed too small for his stature. A chilling photo taken just before the ride shows Tyre with the harness appearing unsecured. He even told a friend that the harness was moving and asked the friend to tell his parents that he loved them in what seemed a foreboding premonition. As the ride began, a video captured the horrific events. Tyre slipped from his seat. The boy tried to cling to the seat, but it was no use. He fell to the ground, a scene that left onlookers and friends in stunned silence. Emergency services quickly arrived, but Tyre was pronounced dead at the hospital. An autopsy later revealed that he died from blunt force trauma with multiple severe injuries. Following the event, the Orlando Freefall was shut down right away, and the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, as well as the Orange County Sheriff's Department, started their investigations. According to forensic experts who discovered that the sensors on Tyre's seat had been manually modified, the ride had continued to function even though there was a dangerous space between Tyre's seat and harness. This modification gave the misleading impression that the safety mechanisms were engaged. Tyre's weight also surpassed the ride's 286-pound weight restriction by 96 pounds, which was a critical oversight. Tyre's parents claimed that Tyre was never informed about the weight limit in a wrongful death case they filed against the owner, manufacturer, and landlord of the ride. On August 17th, friends and family gathered to celebrate what would have been Tyre's 15th birthday, releasing balloons and praying in his memory, in an effort to stop similar tragedies in the future. State Representative Geraldine Thompson declared her intention to introduce the Tyre-Sampson law, which would strengthen security protocols at theme parks. Tyre's death was both unusual and avoidable, Thompson emphasized. It was revealed in March 2023 that Tyre's mother, Nikki Dodd, has reached a settlement with Icon Park and the Orlando Eagle Drop Slingshot, the owner of the freefall ride. However, the case against the ride's manufacturer continues. A jury trial date has been set for January 21, 2025 in Orlando. The trial is estimated to last 2 to 3 days. On June 28, 2008, Leeshawn Ferguson IV arrived at Six Flags Over Georgia with his friends from Okie Springs Baptist Church. His parents, Asia Ferguson III and Letha Ferguson, were also on the trip. It was a Saturday, a day meant for thrills and fun. But it would soon turn into a tragedy that no one could have anticipated. Asia, a 17-year-old from Springfield, South Carolina, was an outgoing, carefree adolescent who was often grinning and eager to lend a hand to others. Among his friends, he was well known for his academic success and for his intense love of basketball. Asia and his friends excitedly toured the park on that fatal day, their laughter resonating across the rides and attractions. They were drawn to one of the park's most popular roller coasters, Batman, the ride. The ride was renowned for its high speeds and 360-degree twists, promising an adrenaline rush unlike anything else. Amidst the excitement, however, Asia and a companion ended up separated from the group and wandering into an area forbidden to the public. It is still unclear why Asia chose to jump over 2 6-foot barriers that were marked with authorized personnel only and do not enter signs. Some people think he was attempting to find a hat he misplaced during the trip, while others think he was attempting to enter the ride or use another route to the parking lot. Whatever the reason, what he did took him into a dangerous area beneath the roller coaster's track, a place of extreme danger when the ride was operating. Around 2 p.m. that afternoon, Asia was hit by one of the ride's speeding trains, which was moving at almost 50 miles per hour. The impact was lethal, decapitating the 17-year-old instantly. Witnesses stared in shock, not understanding how the scene had gone from happiness to disaster so quickly. A nearby Marietta police officer who was off duty called for assistance right away. But even though park security and rescue services responded quickly, nothing could be done for Asia, who was pronounced dead at the scene. The subsequent investigation sought to piece together the events preceding Asia's untimely demise. Officials at Six Flags highlighted the multiple warnings and barriers put in place to stop these kinds of things, pointing out the obvious signage and fenced-off sections. Asia's death was deemed an accident by the Cobb County medical examiner, who verified that the cause of death was blunt force trauma. For Asia's family, the loss was incomprehensible. His father, heartbroken and seeking answers, spoke of his son's infectious happiness and the bright future that had been stolen from him. Friends mourned the loss of a boy who was always ready to lend a hand, recalling moments shared on the basketball court and in the classroom. Six Flags Over Georgia temporarily closed the Batman ride out of respect for Asia's family, while state officials ordered a thorough inspection of the attraction. The park faced scrutiny and potential legal challenges, as the incident highlighted the balance between thrill-seeking and safety. Even more, state regulators decided the park had to increase the size and number of warning signs near the ride in order to prevent others from suffering the same end.